Yo, what up guys? Rago here from MACkite. So we're down here in Hatteras and we've been kiting and doing a good bit of testing on gear out here. And one kite that we just got that I'm super excited about is the new North Reach 15 meter. And we've done quite a few videos on the Reach now, and you probably, if you follow the channel, you know I'm always complaining that I can never get my hands on a Reach. Well, I finally got a 12 meter and a 15 meter Reach. So super stoked to get out there and test these kites. And I want to get out there and do a review, a little bit of our first impressions on the 15 meter. And I'm going to share my insights as well as Kristen's insights when we were testing this kite in super light wind. And I'll come back and check in with the full review with that 12 meter and see if my thoughts still line up on this 15 meter. But I have had quite a few light wind sessions having been based in Florida, and I've flown a lot of light wind kites, and that's one category that I know intimately. So after having used this Reach, this 15 meter Reach, I've already got a pretty good idea of where it stacks up and at least give you a good idea of what you can expect from this kite. So with the North Reach, the 15 meter, obviously it is different in some respects to the smaller sizes. I believe they've done some things to reduce the weight and make it more light wind specific. But like a lot of the more modern light wind kites I've been trying, the bar pressure on this is mind-bendingly light for a light wind kite. Now, it's not a special material. The Reach, it is I believe a standard Dacron kite, so you're not getting anything like special like the Olula or that added stiffness of the D-Lab or any of that stuff. But in spite of that, this is a very light in the air, light in the hand feeling kite, and I believe they've achieved this by reducing a lot of the materials in this kite and making sure that it was as efficient as possible. And with all that said, you're not going to achieve the lightness of one of those specialty kites, but in spite of that, this is a very modern feeling light wind kite. And what's most noticeable about light wind kites, and one of the reasons they do have a bad reputation, is they tend to be heavy, bulky, very clunky in the sky, and you can throw all that out the window with a Reach. This is light in the hands, lighter feeling as far as piloting in the sky. And in spite of the fact that it is a big kite, I didn't personally find it to be cumbersome at all. It was quite maneuverable. Now, compared to say something like a Juice, it's not as, I don't know if pivotal is the right word, but it does have a bit more of a sweeping, somewhat reminiscent of a higher aspect kite in the way that it turns, kind of a more sweeping turn to it. And I think it goes in line with like some of those set it and forget it kites where you just park it, and then when you do want to generate apparent wind, it's just got a really good smooth sweep to it, which makes signing it in light wind easy, creating apparent wind easy. And as far as light wind kites go, that's actually really important, is the ability to sign the kite without having this big grunty forward pull, and that's not what you're gonna get with the Reach. So in comparison, even actually to the Contra does have a pretty solid grunt to it, bit of forward pull. The Reach, it doesn't have any of that bar pressure, it doesn't have any of that grunt, but like the 15 meter machine that I've been testing, you get this really light feel on the bar, and then it just drives upwind, and it's super efficient. So as far as light wind kites go, the Reach definitely falls into the category of a modern light wind kite, lighter feeling. If you love flying 8 meters, yeah, I know, nobody who loves their 8 likes flying anything bigger than a 12. But if you are looking for a light wind kite to get out there, and I would make the argument that you should be riding more light wind days, because those are the days that you learn. Those are the days that you perfect all your tricks, learn to land blind, learn everything that you're gonna get hurt trying in strong wind. So lots of advantages to light wind riding. Now, one thing as well, with the Reach is a lot of people have been touting like the freestyle benefits, and you can definitely do freestyle with this kite. This is one area where I felt there was some drawback. We did try this compared actually back to back with the Pulse, which is kind of a middle of the road, kind of big air freestyle blend. So not the most pop and slack. And With the reach, it does have a bit of forward pull on some of those, and I'm referring to unhook freestyle here, which a lot of unhooked freestylers love the lighter winds, and big kites are an excellent tool for learning. This is a good tool for learning, but it's not going to have the same pop and slack. And I did check out some other reviews. Some other reviewers did feel that it had good pop and slack. This is one area where I'm gonna say it's just okay. It didn't stand out, wasn't exceptional, but take that with a grain of salt because all light wind kites are like this. I don't think you're gonna get any advantage with a Contra or a Juice or any of the other light wind kites in that regard. They all just have that forward pull once you're unhooked. But when you're hooked in, they don't have that strong driving you, pulling your harness, ripping you downwind feel. They're all super efficient now. Now, when it comes to North kiteboarding, one thing that they have done an exceptional job with on all of their kites is loft and looping. And every single one of their kites loops incredibly well. I have not tested this 15 for loop-based tricks yet, but I will test that in the follow-up review when we get out on the smaller sizes for both of the sizes and how they compare in their loops. However, with the loft and with the shape of this kite, it is a good lofty kite. So even in super light wind scenarios, it has that sweeping yet fast turn, very much reminiscent of a handful of other kites that I've tried now, like the Machine, for example. Also a sweeping, fast, good lofting kite. Very forgiving as well. And I think that's really important for a lot of riders out there, is just to have that forgiveness, because that's something that people have been looking for in kites in a long time. And one thing we've struggled with, I think, in general, is people gravitate away from performance kites because performance kites tend to not be forgiving. It's just one of those things. In order to reap maximum performance, it often requires maximum skill, which most people don't have, which can give a performance kite a bad rep. And one thing that North has done an incredible job with is making performance kites that do bring that forgiveness. I think the first gen Orbit was lacking in performance, or was lacking in forgiveness for the sake of performance, and then obviously in generation 2 they brought it back around, brought that forgiveness back to the kite because it's just something that people want in general. And one thing that I did find with the Reach, and Kristen found as well, is it is very forgiving. So very easy to get air with, light wind air for the light wind kite, not mega loop air obviously, but easy to get air, and then it's got that nice little bit of loft to it, which for a light wind session, I would make the case that regardless of your discipline, having that little bit of loft is really nice, just for learning tricks, trying new things. And as far as where this one stacks up against the other kites that are incredibly lofty, like for example, I tested the Machine, thought that was one of the loftiest kites that I've used in a long time. Not sure where it stacks up because I need to do further testing to see how this one performs when I have a bit more wind. The one test that I've had with this thus far, incredibly light. I mean, scraping the bottom of the barrel, as light as it could possibly get by the end of the session, just going across to the wind, nobody else on the water. So I will get back out there with a touch more wind, and I will let you know how the loft on this one is compared to some of the other light wind kites. But I will say what I can make for now as a comparison is, compared to the other light wind kites that are not special material, this is probably the lightest feeling of the non-special material kites, lightest bar pressure of the non-special material kites, and the fastest feeling light wind kite of the non-special material kites. Actually felt somewhat reminiscent of a D-Lab, although you're definitely not going to get that reduced weight in the sky. So hopefully that gives you a good idea, at least of a first impression of what you'd expect from the 15 Reach. As they say, it really is a do-it-all, all-around kite. This one is light wind specific, has a good modern feel, and we'll check back in with you soon and give you a full review on the Reach in general, the 12 and the 15. And if you got any questions in the meantime, let me know in the comments. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. I'll catch you later.